Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadosh, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there in the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. And so behind me is what used to be Sears here in Reading. And that's the spirit right there. I had just made this last year. What's this being all fenced off for? Well, they're demolishing the building of what once was Sears. So, America is losing its power. And, around here, the Carr fire, which now is currently the Delta fire. And if you look at the burn man there, they're all next to each other, as if this was a sinister plan all along. But, nonetheless, though, the main topic is the usage of chemical weapons. Well, it didn't take very long for Esau to start chemtrailing us. And again, he probably was chemtrailing us during the whole Carr fire thing and wearing a mask today because the Delta fire, it's still unbreathable conditions here in Reading. So you shouldn't really go into town without a mask, except for in the afternoon. But this is early morning, so I'm here with a mask, and did this for almost 3 weeks straight, before, during the Carr fire, and the Delta fire is only 5% contained. So, Esau, he's bringing destruction like he always has, but he's using a chemical agent. I have another video. Jason Allring gave this information that, Esau has used this weapon against the people of Syria, the same weapon they're using on Yemen and in Iraq. So the United States is the ones that are using chemical weapons, but is accusing the Assad government of using them, yet they just bombed Syria using this chemical weapon. So, anyhow, the fact is, though, is that we're coming out here, we're prophesying the downfall of America, which is what we are to do, prophesy against Mount Seir, and so we're telling our people that, the white man, Esau, in biblical Edomites, they're losing their structure, and so, they're demolishing this building. It's kind of funny because McMahon's Furniture, Radio Shack, Montgomery Ward, man, they didn't demolish the buildings afterwards, but this one is being demolished, as we speak. So, either way, though, now they had said, though, that this area of the Sears was going to be like other mall centers. I thought for sure it'd be a FEMA thing, but hey, they're demolishing it just to rebuild. But I thought that they were going to rebuild and be Reading strong, concerning Keswick and other things. Well, if you're going to spend a few $1 million doing something stupid like this, you ain't replacing homes. Not to mention this place is on its way out. So I'm going to read out of Revelation chapter 20, because we know that Esau is back in power now. Now, Revelation chapter 20 is kind of interesting because it talks about that 1,000-year period when Esau would be put into captivity, and then what he would do when he get out. So it's kind of broken up in parts, but we're going to put this together, because, well, Apostle Tahar and the apostles of Great Millstone have already put this together, but it's always good to reiterate what they've taught. And that's why we say double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who have taught this truth. Revelation chapter 20, verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Well, who's that talking about? Who is the dragon? Who is Satan? Who's our adversary? Esau is so-called white man. So it's talking about the first Roman Empire, which went into bondage for 1,000 years. That's why they dwelled in the cave rocks. And he cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him. He should deceive the nations no more till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. So again, what's that little season talking about? The time that we're in now. Christianity, when it started making its mark and all that, started really in 1490. So we're just going to jump down to verse 7 here. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan, who is the so-called white man, Esau, the Edomites, shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. So he's going to gather all the nations, which is what's happening now. That's why all these nations are drawn into this war, especially in the Idlib province of Syria, which is right there by the Euphrates River. these biblical prophecies is coming true as this being the year of prophecy. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about. So, who are the camp of the saints about? Great Millstone. We're that camp, because I don't even consider other false camps that are out there, but it's part of the Esau deception is to use others that are coming to the realization that they're Israelites but are in false camps, which they'll eventually make their way back to Great Millstone. And the beloved city, again, beloved city, so definitely this battle is going to take place, in Jerusalem as well, because the old Israeli state Levant, ISIL, then terrorists, have to be destroyed. Amalek has to be eradicated. And fire came down from Yahweh out of heaven and devoured them. So, in other words, the Israeli state Levant, ISIL, is going to be destroyed, but there's a lot more. Of course, the main place, their battle place, America, Babylon the Great. And the devil that deceived him, that's talking about Esau, was cast into the lake of fire. That's what this place is going to come when the 200 million nuclear missiles fall down on this place. And brimstone, which is what it does, totally demolishes everything in its path. Where the beast and false prophet are, which we know that the whore, Babylon the Great, sits in the midst of the beast. And they shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Now, people will often refer to this as trying to bring in the hell doctrine, but wait, there's more here. Now, I saw a great white throne for them. Well, who's that talking about, Well, it's talking about the rest. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Yahweh. And the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things works. So it's out as we should. And I've seen a lot of us do it too. And death and hell were cast into this is the second death. So what's that second death? 200 million down upon Babylon the Great. And the rest of the world, for that matter, because this is a nuclear war. Whosoever named in the book of life was cast in the lake of fire. That means 2/3 of our people are going to die. You've got to keep in mind, though, that these prophets, who were they talking to? Did they talking to the entire world? Were they talking to the cosmos, the people? Well, Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, has always sent prophets to warn the people. Who are the people? The Israelites, which is all of Israel. But 2/3 are not going to listen, just like they did when Yahushai was here. But there are those that are waking up to this. I woke up to this truth, quite simply put, because there were others already out here doing the work. And as Brother Kazat just put up a video most recently, that stop being a cheerleader and go out there and do your own work, And that's what, a lot of people, I was watching them too, and then I was ready to go. It's time to stop being lazy, go out there and teach. And before that, I was just putting videos together, but, you can't just be a commentator on the sidelines. You got to go out there and teach. So here it is, over with, yet in the midst of the Delta fire. Now, that's not hitting the Reading area, but the smoke is, and that's why I'm wearing the mask. It's definitely about an hour away from Reading, but I-5 is closed. It's been closed since last week. So I'm glad I got down to San Francisco last week, because Greyhound most likely would have canceled quite a few buses this weekend, or just, the bus was already 3 hours late just last weekend, so can you imagine adding a couple more hours, coming down $2.99 for the detour, which adds 2 more hours. Again, that's the Most High, bringing judgment on this place, but yet, because we know the sword is Esau, but yet there's been a master plan, because you take a look at the spots on the map of Car Fire, and you look at Delta Fire, and you look at Hearst Fire, they're all together, kind of like Mendocino Fire was quite a few fires that molded into one big fire. Now, we know that the Car Fire is already put out, but however, though, the Hearst Fire is only 95% contained, so these fires, it ain't, this is what you call the pre-fire season. So this ain't the main peak of the fire season. And with this being the year of prophecy, we're going to see a whole lot more. And so now's the time to do the work. Put in overtime. Because we are near that end of time. So I hope this has been edifying. Like everything else, though, if you're like me and you're not near a camp, try to get near the camp. But in the meantime, just make sure you're built up on everything. Come out here and teach, because the laborers are so few. But most of all, though, we can see though that Babylon the Great is near its end, and they will not be able to rebuild, because this what's happening here is going to cost a lot of money. So they're not going to rebuild Keswick. They're not going to rebuild all them homes. People are being relocated to Sacramento at the Kmart Relocation Center, which is now run by
And just like as I prophesied earlier this morning, which technically I got this information from an article that came up, so I'm going to read that article. U.S. warplanes drop phosphorus bombs on Syria, Russia, which these are chemical weapons. See, look at that shit, man. And these are banned. These are chemical weapons that are banned by the Geneva Convention, which America claims to be a part of. American warplanes reportedly dropped phosphorus bombs on a village in the eastern Syrian province of Deir al-Zar. And these are the same bombs that they use on Libya and on Iraq, and constantly in Yemen. And the funny thing is that Esau, I went to the movies this weekend, and I saw the preview of another movie that they're about to make on Libya, which is to demonize Muammar Gaddafi, and trying to make it look like that Muammar Gaddafi was trying to go after reporters. No, man, Esau makes these movies so that way they can make it look like they're still G.I. Joe, the American hero, when really they're the fucking terrorists. Vladimir Savinsky, the chief of the Russian Center for Reconciliation of the opposing parties in Syria, announced the development on Sunday. Russia's ITAR-TASS news agencies reported. On September 8, 2018, two F-15 warplanes of the United States Air Force delivered airstrikes on the settlement of the Hajin with the use of phosphorus bombs. The airstrikes caused heavy fire. Information about casualties and damages is being verified, he said. The Russian Reconciliation Center warned that the use of munitions containing yellow phosphorus is prohibited by an additional protocol to the Geneva Convention of 1949, the agency added. Late June, New York-based organization Human Rights Watch similarly warned that a United States-led coalition purporting to be fighting the Daesh Takfiri terror group in Syria and Iraq was deploying white phosphorus bombs in the Arab countries. No matter how white phosphorus is used, it poses a high risk of horrific and long-lasting harm in crowded cities like Syria's Raqqa and Iraq's Mosul and any other areas with concentration of civilians, Steve Goose, the arms director of the HRW, said back at that time. So you can see, though, that here's the evidence. Here's pictures right there showing you that the United States is using chemical weapons against Syria. The ammunitions can cause extensive and deep second and third degree burns, which, while inflation of the gas released by them, potentially results in illness or death. So, under the false pretenses of, Assad is using chemical weapons against his people, who's using them? United States, Babylon the Great. So they're the terrorists, and they're the ones that are using chemical weapons. And do I have to even mention chemtrails being used against our own people here? Why can't Russia fucking bomb this place? Because that piece of shit, that gas-killing animal, Donald J. Trump, is using weapons against his own people. You see what I'm saying? Shalom, I'm just going to go to the next.
Breaking news at this time. Multiple news agencies are reporting that U.S. warplanes have dropped white phosphorus munitions on a Syrian town in the Deir ez-Zor province. The claim comes via a report by the Russian Ministry of Defense. Two F-15 jets like those pictured here on Saturday bombed the town of Hajin with white phosphorus incendiary munitions banned under the Geneva Convention, according to the Russian Center for Reconciliation in Syria. White phosphorus is considered a chemical weapon. Article 1 of Protocol 3 of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons makes it clear that the weapon is illegal as an incendiary device. The use of weapons with white phosphorus is prohibited by the additional protocol of the 1949 Geneva Convention. The weapon is considered unacceptable due to its effectiveness in burning human flesh. In many cases, it has proven the ability to burn right to the bone of a victim. It has even been known to break down a victim's jawbone. Previously, the U.S. has been criticized for the use of the illegal weapon in Iraq, where it was utilized in the battle against ISIS. It was made public after pictures and videos posted online by the Pentagon itself. U.S. manufactured white phosphorus has also been used by Saudi Arabia against Yemeni civilians. The U.S. has yet to respond to the accusation.
So while that's going on, of course, Gomer, better known as Turkey, is building up their defenses along the Syrian border, so they can protect their terror groups, which used to be a deal with the United States, but they still have their terrorist assets. The Free Syrian Army was a deal between Turkey and the United States, and everybody knows about it, and they're right there in the Idlib province, so Turkey's trying to protect its terrorist assets, because remember, the pipeline used to go up to Turkey, and Turkey was stealing the oil from Syria and Iraq. And it was a convenient deal, but now they found a better deal through Russia. So, yeah, Gomer, Turkey, and they played both sides on this thing.
Turkey is stepping up security along its border with Syria. Early on Sunday, Ankara dispatched a military convoy amid reports of airstrikes on the opposition-held province of Idlib. Russian and Syrian warplanes carried out airstrikes in the southern part of the province. Monitoring groups say at least 9 civilians, including 2 children, have been killed. This came a day after the presidents of Turkey, Iran and Russia failed to agree on a ceasefire. Our correspondent Mikhail Bardavit has more now from Istanbul.
Following a day of talks by the key players of the Syrian government, Russia, Turkey and Iran, it seems that the Syrian government, together with Russia, is moving closer towards launching a major offensive in Idlib. On Saturday, attacks continued. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights has reported that over 60 airstrikes took place in that region on Saturday. It was also reported by the monitoring group that the Syrian government was using helicopters to drop barrel bombs in that region as well. There was also a report by the state-run Syrian television stating that the attacks by the Syrian government were in retaliation to overnight attacks by rebel forces in that region. So it seems that these attacks are just a preview of what is yet to come, and it's important to note that there are over 3 million people living in Idlib right now. Some are bracing themselves for a potential attack, making some kind of preparations around their homes, and others are expected to flee once the offensive is launched. And there was a statement made by the Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu, a warning of a possibility of a humanitarian tragedy. He also stated that if thousands, as they expect, head towards the Turkish border, that they believe that a refugee influx will affect both Turkey and Europe as well. There are over 3.5 million refugees being hosted in Turkey at this moment, but Turkish officials have stated that there is just not enough room or resources to host any more refugees at this time. This is Mikhail Bardavit for CGTN in Istanbul.
And this here, no doubt, is a Mossad operation because, pretty much the Israeli state is trying to get rid of Iran completely. So here goes the consulate that was in Basra, the second largest city in Iraq. And pretty much they're getting rid of all the Shia Muslims, which are pretty much what you would call your Persians. So they're trying to, pretty much get rid of the sphere of influence of Persia, which would be your Hezbollah, would be your if they could attack Iran, they would, but they're just trying to take out their other proxies, Yemen. That's why this war continues against Yemen, because they're just trying to get rid of their sphere of influence so they can bring in their terrorists, which is Mossad, Israeli State and Levant, ISIL, and ISIS, Israeli Secret Intelligence Services, which is pretty much to get everything under their control to put in their puppet government. So pretty much this consulate was destroyed in Iraq. And so this war is escalating, this being the year of prophecy. And this is news coming right out of Persia, which Ayatollah Khomeini has stated that the U.S. policies in the Middle East have failed. Yeah, they failed to take over Syria. They have failed their policies in Iraq, which is why they're trying to demolish, the fact that these countries, and they're taking a proverb against Esau. And Iraq hates America just as much as Syria does, and they want United States out of there, but make no mistake about it, the United States and its allies will lose on this and have been losing for a long time.
The leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution says hegemonic powers have created insecurity and instability in different parts of the world, especially in the West Asia region. Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei made a comment at a joint graduation ceremony for Army cadets. He said hegemonic powers led by the tyrannical United States trigger domestic wars, provoke acts of terrorism, and fuel regional conflicts to secure their own interests. The leader said some regional countries unfortunately helped those powers in their plots. Ayatollah Khamenei further said Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon are examples of the failure of Washington's conspiracies in the region. The leader then urged the Iranian armed forces to hone their skills to further dishearten the enemies. Director of Veritas Center for Strategic Studies, Mr. Riaz Karim, joins us from London. Mr. Karim, give us your perspective on the recent comments made by Ayatollah Khamenei.
I think he just pretty much said what is the worst kept secret in the world right now, and he's absolutely correct in saying so too. Because when you look at the history, look at the failures that are out there. Countries are reeling from the failure of war, which are deliberately created in order to serve their own purposes. Look at Iraq. Iraq has been reeling from that since forever now. Look at Afghanistan. Look at Syria. Now there's talk of creating false chemical weapons. Look at how they want to redraw the map of Arab Israel. Look at everything out there. It is somehow connected to these powers, and he is absolutely correct. This is what they do. They create chaos in order to serve their own purpose, and it's not a secret anymore. Everybody can see it. And so, countries like Iran and Lebanon and Syria and Iraq, they really have to be very, very vigilant, because of what is happening out there, because those are the actual targets. It is because of such countries that U.S. and their allies are unable to achieve their targets and goals. Because if they would be able to get through to those countries, they would have changed the map of the world by now. But it is not happening because these countries are standing firm and they're not giving an inch to these guys.
Thank you very much, Director Veritas Center for Strategic Studies, Mr. Riaz Karim, joining us from the British capital, London.
And this is a must watch. I'm not going to take credit for these videos. I may forward other brothers' videos, but I don't expect to say that, oh yeah, I put this up. No, man, someone else has already put this up there. I know that. But what I do is I like to gather videos, regather them, commentate on them, which I don't expect to get credit just for commentating, but what I like to do is put that together because here's what I say about that. If people, and you know what I'm talking about, people most of the time just sit there and they'll watch Good Morning America from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., just watching bullshit, nothing that edifies. So I like to put together lessons, that brothers have already put up for like a 2 or 3 hour period, of something that's actually going to be edifying, that's going to pretty much bring us back to the understanding of who we are as a people. I'm just going to let it play. This is Mailbag.
Shalom. Welcome to another edition of Great Millstone Mailbag Extra. Coming to you through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bar Shem Yahushai Bar Shem Rakakwadash. All praises and glory is due with another edition of the Daily Edification. Now in today's video, I'm going to talk about a time that's coming where you will have a lot of horrific so-called terrorist attacks that will be created by the so-called government. And behind those attacks, among the groups that are going to be blamed for those attacks are the Hebrew Israelites. That's right, the Hebrew Israelites. And the main source of inspiration for me to make that statement comes from an FBI report, as you see here on screen, entitled Project Megiddo. And now we will read the definition of Project Megiddo, and then we'll look at some of the groups that, according to Project Megiddo, will be a problem during these so-called terrorist attacks. Some of the groups that will be blamed for those so-called terrorist attacks. Now, us brothers that's been in the faith for a while, going back to the days of the school in Bridgeport, Connecticut, basically your apostles and your elders, your top elders, we remember that time, because on September 11th, 2001, commonly known as 9/11, we had a school in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and they did demonize the school. They did demonize us at the school. You had the city of Bridgeport that actually believed we had something to do, based upon the so-called white man's media, the local area. They actually believed that we had something to do with 9/11. On the very day of 9/11, towards the evening, we were painted, those of us that were part of that school, we were painted as terrorists. And we were even arrested and thrown in jail. Okay? But by the grace of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, we were released. Okay? But the thing is, we maintain our faith. Now, some of the brothers after that incident happened, some of them lost faith. That was the catalyst that made them totally lose their faith, not believe in that Hebrew Israelite thing anymore, if you will. Now, my question is this, and on this video, I'm going to just put a question mark. How many Israelites out there, and I'm not just talking about Great Millstone, I'm talking about everyone that know that by faith that they're a Hebrew Israelite. How many Hebrew Israelites out there, Hebrew Israelite men, that's who I'm talking to. How many of you will actually still believe that you're a Hebrew Israelite when these terrorist attacks happen and they blame the Hebrew Israelites for those terrorist attacks and serious persecution and demonization come from those attacks? How many of us will maintain that faith? That is the big question, because it is coming. Okay? Those horrific attacks are coming. If we look at the book of Job 18 and 11, now this is actually a twofold scripture, but it proves the point. Job 18 and 11, it says, terrors shall make him afraid on every side. So terrors are indeed coming to this place called America. Okay, really the world, but we're mainly focusing on America because horrific terrorist attacks will happen on the soil. I'm looking at the scripture right here. Terrors shall make him afraid on every side. And the other fold is that the Lord himself, Yahweh Shai, will bring terror. Okay, one of my favorite scriptures is Isaiah 66 and 15. It will be a terror when the Lord comes with those chariots and those nuclear missiles. It'll be a terror to the so-called white man, because that'll be the end of his kingdom. But before that, you're going to have terrorist attacks created by the same government. Why? To push the main narrative, which is their so-called New World Order. That will be the final big push to the so-called New World Order. Okay, and like I said, we have experienced that before, and experience is the best teacher. We've experienced that before with 9/11. Indeed, we were demonized on 9/11. We were not only demonized, we were arrested. Okay, and I can remember the time when myself and Elder Sakaran were walking back from the jail. We were walking back to the school, which was located on 1663 Fairfield Avenue. You can check this out. Okay, you can research this if you want. Our school was located there. And on my way back to the school, I had this distinct feeling like I felt I was going to be shot. Okay, so as we were walking back to the school. And then finally, when we got to the school, there was this, I can't remember if it was a van or a car, and they drove down the road. Now, mind you, the roads were pretty much empty. You know, there weren't really anybody really driving around. Okay, like you see now. Okay, it was like an atmosphere of fear. Everybody was in their homes. And this car came down the road, and they yelled out the car as they passed the school. And we had just, myself and Elder Sakaran had just gotten to the school. This is a true story. Okay, and they're going down the road, and they yell, "You motherfuckers, fuck you, you motherfuckers." And that's when it really hit me that the people of Bridgeport, Connecticut actually thought we had something to do with 9/11, thanks to the demonization that they gave us on that very day. So my question to you is this: you think that's not going to happen again, but on a grander scale, on a wider scale? If you don't think that's not going to happen again, then you're not dealing with reality. You know, a lot of these Israelite groups, and I got to say this, a lot of these Israelite groups, these other Israelite groups, they like to teach the beauty of the truth. And indeed, there is beauty to the truth, but there's also an ugly side of the truth. Okay, a side where you have to face great amounts of persecution and demonization. And we saw that first with Yahweh Shai. Okay, look at all the demonization and the persecution that he went through. Brothers, that's the ugly side of this truth. Okay, and we have to make friends with the ugly side of this truth. It's just what it is. And that's one of these videos that you know, that I'm making, or that's this video that I'm making today. Okay. Job 18 and 11. Terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. So terrors are definitely coming, horrific terrorist attacks, and some of them will be blamed on us Hebrew Israelites. I mean, it's just reality. Okay, if we take a look at Project Megiddo, as you see here. Now this is well, let's just read the passage that they have here and get an idea of what Project Megiddo is. It says, the attached analysis entitled Project Megiddo, let's blow that up some more, is the culmination, that's a very interesting word, culmination, let's look that word up. I have an idea what the word means, but I want to show you brothers what the meaning of the word is. Culmination, right?
Culmination.
There you go. The highest or climactic point of something. Especially as attained after a long time. So while they give a sentence here, the product was the culmination of 13 years of research. So the peak of something, the summit of something, as you see here for the synonyms, right? The climax of something. Like, case in point, if we use sex, right? A man and woman having sex, what would be the culmination? Well, when the man ejaculates and when the woman comes, as they say, that would be the culmination of their sexual activity of the man and the woman, right? Well, there you go. So now you get an idea of what Project Megiddo is. It is the culmination of what? Of an FBI intelligence initiative involving FBI field offices. And everyone knows what the FBI is. You know, it's a so-called government institution, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and they investigate everything. That's why they have, they have fake individuals among these different groups that report back to the government. In the case of the Hebrew Israelites, it's no different. You better believe there's fake Israelites out there that their main loyalty is to the so-called white man's government, even though they may call themselves Hebrew Israelites. And if we take a look at the scripture, what is that, Galatians? It was the same thing in Yahushai's day and the same thing in the Apostle Paul's day, where they had spies, okay, gathering research. I think that's the book of Galatians 2 and 4. Let's read that scripture. There it is right there. Now this is the Apostle Paul speaking to the Israelites in Galatia. This is a letter that he wrote to them. And it says this: but neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, meaning he was an Israelite that spoke what? That spoke Greek, was compelled to be circumcised, because that's not what's the word I'm looking for? That's not a practice of the Greeks, the real Greeks, which are Edomites, which is to be circumcised. That was a covenant the Lord made between Abraham, okay? And it was a covenant given to the Israelites. Anyway, reading on. And that because of false brethren unawares brought in, who came in privately to spy out our liberty, which we have in Yahushai, that they might bring us into bondage. Right. So their loyalty, these false brethren, their loyalty was to who? The so-called Roman government. They were gathering research among the different groups for the so-called Roman government. Okay? Their loyalty wasn't to the faith that the brothers believed in. No, their loyalty was to the so-called Roman government. And it was the same thing with Yahushai. Let's read that. Feign themselves. See, I'm showing you the reality of being in this truth. This truth is not all rose-colored glasses, all right? There's an ugly side to it, and we have to make friends with it. Now, that term rose-colored glasses, I got that from a song, an old country and western song. Is done by John Connolly, and the name of the song was called Rose-Colored Glasses. And basically, it's a metaphor for looking at the beautiful side of things and not the ugly side of things. A person with rose-colored glasses on, they only look at the beauty of things and not the ugly reality. Okay? So that's where I got that term, rose-colored glasses. For you brothers that were interested to know. Now, here's an example of how spies were sent even in Yahushai's ministry. And it's found in the book of Luke 20 and 20. Well, let me start in the 19th verse. And the chief priests and the scribes the same hour sought to lay hands on him. Now the chief priests and scribes, their loyalty was to who? Really to the Roman government, the so-called white man Roman government, the Edomite Roman government. Okay, and then and to top it off, they hated Yahushua. Okay, they hated him, simply put. So the chief priests and scribes the same hour sought to lay hands on him, meaning they wanted to kill him. And they feared the people, for they perceived that he had spoken this parable against them. And Yahushua actually hated the wicked Pharisees and Sadducees. He didn't like them as well. Okay, they didn't like him and he didn't like them. All right. So reading on, it says, and they watched him, the him being Yahushua, and sent forth spies. Isn't that the same thing we read in Galatians? But this time it's Yahushua's ministry. The one back in Galatians was the Apostle Paul's ministry, right? And they watched him and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, meaning they acted like they were just men. They were hypocrites, that they might take hold of his words. Listen good, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. Now the power and authority of the governor was his alliance was to who? The Roman government. Okay, the Roman government. So there you go. So here we have one example during the days of Yahushua. Then we have another example with Apostle Paul. So you think it's not going to be the same thing today? Wait a minute, is it not written what so? Well, let's get Romans. Let's get the book of Romans. It is the same thing today, brothers. The same thing is happening today. Okay? Where you have spies among us, that their loyalty is to the so-called white man's government. Their loyalty is to the so-called New World Order, because that's what Esau wants to bring. That's why you're going to have all these horrific attacks, which is going to give that once and for all excuse for why they need a so-called New World Order government, a total totalitarian so-called government, if you will. All right. So as it is written, we're not ignorant of the devices of Satan. We're not ignorant to this fact. Okay. Romans 15:4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. So we just read about the spies back in Yahushua's time and back in the Apostle Paul's time. So whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So there you go. So going back to Project Megiddo now, you have individuals that were set up to report back to these so-called FBI field offices that are gathering intelligence, as you see here, and a culmination of their intelligence is called what? Project Megiddo. So let's read on. It says legal attaches and the domestic terrorism analysis unit, DTAU. It is intended to serve as a strategic assessment of the potential for domestic terrorism in the United States. Like I said, after these so-called terrorist attacks, which the real culprit will be the so-called government, after they create it, they will blame some of those attacks on Hebrew Israelites. How do we know this? Well, let's read on, and then we're going to take a look at the groups that Project Megiddo feels will be responsible. It is intended to serve as strategic assessment of the potential for domestic terrorism, and we know terrorism is coming because the prophecy says so. Job 18:11, terrors shall make him afraid on every side and shall drive him to his feet. Also, if we go in the book of let me see, men's hearts, I think that's in Matthew. Okay, men's hearts. Yep. Well, actually, it's in the book of Luke. Luke 21:26. It says, men's hearts failing them for fear. Another word for fear is what? Terrorism or terror. Terrorism creates what? It creates fear. And it's fear that the so-called wicked government is going to use to push their agenda. That's why it was FDR that said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Why? Because they're going to use fear as a motivation towards that so-called New World Order. And that's what terrorist attacks create. They create fear. The byproduct is to generate fear. That's what 9/11 did. It generated fear. And I remember that day, man. People were afraid. Like I said, when we were walking back to the school, me and Elder Sakaran, there was so much fear in the air that people stayed home. You hardly saw any cars in the street. Okay? So the program of fear is coming once again, but this time is gonna ramp up tremendously. All right? There's gonna be a lot of attacks, and you're gonna have some Israelites blamed for those attacks. Okay? Men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. So there's no doubt that terrorist attacks will be created. Terrorist attacks are on their way. Okay? It is intended to serve as a strategic assessment of the potential for domestic terrorism in the United States, undertaken in anticipation of or response to the arrival of the new millennium. Okay? Which supposedly, well, we are in, according to ESO. The document is intended for law enforcement officers and intelligence analysis. There you go. So you have your spies gathering intelligence, all right, among the different Israelite groups, military personnel, and other officials with a need to know. The information contained in this report is not suitable for further dissemination without prior approval from the FBI. So, I mean, the main part of it is that, you know, is the first paragraph where it says what the Project Megiddo is, what it is. It's a culmination of FBI intelligence. Now, let's look at the groups. All right. You see a Christian identity. So, hey, the Christians, so-called Christians, they'll be deemed as potential terrorists when those horrific attacks start happening. They will be targeted. You know, Christians, people that claim they believe in the Bible. But the main group I want to draw your attention to is, for those of you that are new to this, you don't have an idea of this, it is right there, the group, Black Hebrew Israelites. Sound familiar? Black Hebrew Israelites? So there you go, man. So this, you know, brothers definitely have to seriously consider this, that the time of demonization and persecution is going to come down heavy upon the Black Hebrew Israelites. I say it like they have it here, which we're just Hebrew Israelites. Okay? We're just Hebrew Israelites. But the point is there. Here's a group. This is you know, this is concrete evidence that one of the groups that will be found to be responsible for domestic terrorism is the so-called Black Hebrew Israelites. Okay? And you notice, right? A lot of these other Israelite groups, they don't go into information like this, because see, this is the ugly side of the truth. You got the rose-colored glasses side of the truth, the pretty side of the truth, but this is the ugly side of the truth. But this is reality, brothers. The demonization is on its way. The demonization is coming. And the question is this: how many brothers will be able, their faith will be strong enough to withstand this? Okay? Withstanding the evil day. And like I said, we've seen it before. Right after 9/11, you had a few guys that fell out the truth. They said that to them, that was the last straw. They said, oh man, we've been just believing in Yahweh Shemi Al-Shai, I could be called a terrorist. Man, I'm out of here. This ain't for me. And they fell right out the truth. So you think that's not going to happen again? Remember what we're fighting against. Matter of fact, here it is right here. The book of Ephesians 6 and 10. I'll end with this scripture. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. Now, how do we gain strength in the Lord? Through these scriptures. Meditating on these scriptures. Constantly reading these scriptures and meditating on them. And above all, praying, man. praying that the Lord Yahweh, through his son Yahweh, shall increase our faith in those days, because we know it's coming. We know it's on the way. The storm is coming, brothers. The storm is coming. Okay? And it's going to be one hell of a storm. I remember, when I spent some time in St. Lucia, I remember when they announced either a tropical storm was on its way or a hurricane, man, you had to see the faces of the people. I remember this as a little boy, okay? Especially my mother, okay? And here she's supposed to believe in the Bible and all into the Bible, but she had this real worried look on her face because the tropical storms and the hurricanes were not pretty, man. Okay? They brought a lot of damage and people were afraid of that. Well, brothers, the storm is on its way. Okay? The storm is on its way. And how many brothers will be able to weather that storm? Well, we that believe in Yahweh Shem Yahushua, we pray that we'll have enough faith to weather the storm that is coming. Anyway, let me read on. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And the beautiful thing about being in this truth for all these years, you see the power of the Lord's might. So there's really no excuse. Okay, there's really no excuse to have lack of faith, especially for a brother who's been in this for a while and have seen evidence of the power of the might of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And boy, did I see it on 9/11. The Lord Yahweh through his son Yahushai mightily delivered us from that, because they wanted to send us to hell. We could have been sent to Abu Ghraib. We could have been sent to a political prison. Okay. The power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai was definitely with us and delivered us from that nonsense that happened on 9/11. Anyway, and I say this to you brothers to help build your faith. Okay, it happened to us and it's going to happen to you. Put on the whole armor of the Heavenly Father, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Now that word wiles means trickery. And an example of the wiles of the devil is creating terrorist attacks and then blaming groups that have nothing to do with those terrorist attacks. This is standard operation for the devil. They create these attacks and then they blame groups that have nothing to do with these attacks. Okay? And it's all to push their agenda, which is the so-called New World Order. Using that fear that's culminated from those attacks to motivate people to accept that so-called New World Order. And what's the shine and glory of that so-called New World Order? That's right, the chip. The so-called microchip. Okay? Which is the mark of the beast. Let's take a look at this word wiles. See, this is what is meant by counting the cost when you're in this truth. This is what we have to meditate on, and that's part of counting the cost, whether we have sufficient to finish the work of the Lord. See, we have to endure all of this, brothers. This thing of ours is never meant to be easy, brothers. Wile, as you see here, coming from the word wiles, wile, it says devious or cunning stratagems. Now you're going to tell me that when you create an attack and you blame another group for that attack, you're going to tell me that's not a devious or cunning stratagem? Employed in manipulating what? The people, or persuading someone to do what one wants. There you go. And fear is the greatest motivation. So this government will create these terrorist attacks which will generate fear and move the people towards the so-called New World Order, what they want. And they're going to blame some of those attacks on us Hebrew Israelites. And I just showed you concrete proof, brothers. It's right in your face. Concrete proof. There you go. Black Hebrew Israelites. That's why you notice, right? These other groups that try to demonize us, these other groups, they're always calling us Black Hebrew Israelites. Black Hebrew Israelites. Well, there it is right there. Okay? Let's go back to the definition of wile. Devious or cunning stratagems employed in manipulating or persuading someone to do what one wants. And as we look at the synonyms, tricks, ruses, ploys, schemes, and those so-called terrorist attacks is nothing but a trick, nothing but a ploy, it's nothing but a ruse, nothing but a scheme. And I explain why they're going to create those schemes. So anyways, going back to Ephesians. So this is why we have to be strong. And as it is written, we're not ignorant to the devices of the wicked. Ephesians 6:10, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of the Heavenly Father, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Yeah, and maintain our faith. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. That's your so-called Illuminati, your so-called secret societies, which they worship, demons. They worship devils, and some of those demons they worship them by name. Okay, that's where they get their power. But we know, brothers, that that's the left-hand side of Yahweh. That's all the left-hand side of Yahweh. And we know the right-hand side of Yahweh will prevail. The right-hand side of Yahweh is greater than the left-hand side of Yahweh. They serve the left-hand side of Yahweh. We serve the right-hand side of Yahweh. And the right-hand side will prevail. See, having just that little information gives us the edge, brothers, if we truly believe in it. Okay? For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Okay? Spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Heavenly Father, that is this word, this truth, this knowledge, okay, this faith, that ye may be able to withstand. There's the key word, withstand in the evil day. Because I tell you now, brothers, a lot of guys will give up their faith. They will deny their faith behind those horrific terrorist attacks. Just like Peter, the head apostle Peter, in that moment denied ever knowing Yahushua when that serious persecution came. But of course, later Peter recanted on that. It was set up to show an example, okay, because the Lord told Peter, you would deny me 3 times, so that had to be fulfilled. But nevertheless, we can learn from that incident when the head apostle Peter had denied Yahushua 3 times. So we know that all this shit is coming, and we don't want to deny Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushua in the face of that adversity. We want to be able to withstand that evil day. Let's read it again. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Heavenly Father, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Okay? So with that, I'm going to end it there. This has been a Great Millstone Mailbag Extra with another edition of the Daily Edification. Hopefully, you brothers, your faith was comforted. And remember, brothers, that time of trouble is coming. That time of persecution is coming. That time of demonization is coming. And, we're doing these lessons to help strengthen our faith so we'll be able to withstand that evil day, like it says here in Ephesians 6:13.
Now, a key name to always look at, and this is another lesson a brother put together, a key name to always look at is Elon Musk, who pretty much is working on the RFID mark of the beast in the forehead technology. And so we know, though, that these brain implants are there, and I can testify to that. I know somebody who has an RFID medical device. I have a niece that had a brain, they told her that she needed a replacement brain stem, so they gave her an RFID medical device. Of course, whenever Esau tells you, oh no, this could be life-threatening, because she was feeling headaches or whatever, so they put pretty much a brain chip in her, they put an RFID medical device, which is the Type 3. When you look at the Obamacare Act, House Resolution Bill 3960, and it, there's the Type 2, which is the identification device, which Esau is going to cause all, both small and great, to receive that mark. But then you also got the Type 3, the medical device. It's either Type 2 or Type 3, but either way, it's in the House Resolution Bill 3960. But Elon Musk, man, that's the RFID implant in the brain. So, if you get these medical devices as well, that's the same as taking the mark.
Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, always, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rekakadash. And double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. And I want to give a sincere Shalom to the elect out there that's teaching us truth and sincerity. This is making the headlines. I know other brothers have made videos about this, but I want to attack it from a different angle. You know, because this mark of the beast is soon going to become an actual reality, man. I mean, it already is a reality to an extent, but it's about to become a major, major reality. Alright? Pretty soon, man. You know, we're gonna be encountered with that test. And if we fail that test, we're gonna be put to death, man. Everything that we've done in this truth doesn't mean anything if we take this mark of the beast. That is the final test. Alright, and these devils, man, Satan is gonna make it very hard. Okay, as hard as he possibly can to resist this chip. This is from CNBC.com. Elon Musk. I'm about to announce a Neuralink product that connects your brain to computers. Which is what? A form of the mark of the beast. Okay? This is the path towards turning people into, I guess you could call them cyborgs, man. Because these elites, they're what you call technocrats, man. They want to merge people with technology, man. Because once everybody's on this mark of the beast system, they're going to have complete control over people, man. They'll be able to just shut your Neuralink off, and you'll be screwed. You won't be able to buy or sell. You won't be able to compete in the global workforce. Okay? Everything that's going on in the world is done by design. There's a reason why automation is taking so many jobs. Okay? It's done by design, man. So the answer is going to be to turn people into computers in order to keep up with computers and get their jobs back. That's going to be the answer. Elon Musk says he will soon announce a Neuralink product that can make anyone superhuman. And that's part of the promises that this devil is going to do, man. Alright? He's going to make this chip the answer to everything. Okay? He's going to have all the celebrities do it, take it, and market it, encourage people. You know, you might have somebody in your family who's a technology nut. You know, and they end up getting a really good job because they're a fucking cyborg. You know? Elon Musk says you will soon announce a Neuralink product that can make anyone superhuman by connecting their brains to a computer. He says Neuralink increases the data rate between the brain and computers and will give humans a better shot at competing with AI. He says Neuralink increases the data rate between the brain and computers and will give humans a better shot at competing with AI. Musk made the comments before he smoked weed and drank on Joe Rogan's podcast. Who gives a fuck what he did on Joe Rogan's podcast? The point is that they want to put fucking chips in people, man. Alright? Elon Musk, and here you see, you know, see these elites, they envisioned this for a long time. Elon Musk, which was Star Trek, I believe. Star Trek Next Generation. Elon Musk smoked pot and drank whiskey on the Joe Rogan podcast and said he's going to soon announce a new Neuralink product that can make anyone superhuman. I think we'll have something interesting to announce in a few months that's better than anyone thinks is possible, the Tesla CEO said on Joe Rogan Experience. Best case scenario, we effectively merge with AI. Musk, whose enterprises include a company called Neuralink, says his new technology will be able to seamlessly combine humans with computers Okay? Giving us a shot at becoming symbiotic with artificial intelligence. And that's what they're going to do, man. Alright? They'll be able to control those chips. They'll be able to control your thoughts. People are going to be walking around like fucking robots, man. You know, all the thinking is going to be done for you on that chip. Musk argued that since we're already practically attached to our phones, we're already cyborgs. We're just not as smart as we could be because the data link between the information we can get from our phones to our brains isn't as fast as it could be. We're not no fucking cyborgs, man. You know? That's the slick words of the devil, man. Trying to give this innocent tone towards this chip. You know? It will enable anyone who wants to have superhuman cognition, Musk said. Anyone who wants. Okay? Well, I know one thing, man. The elect don't want that. Because the elect is going to get superhuman cognition when they get, when they receive spiritual power from Yahweh Shai. Alright? This is basically a test to see where your allegiance is, man. Your allegiance is going to be with the devil, or it's going to be with Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Rogan asked how much different these cyborg humans would be than regular humans, and how radically improved they might be. And that's what they're going to do, man. They're going to make this seem like a wonderful thing, man. Like it's magic. You know, everybody needs to jump aboard. You know? How much smarter are you with a phone or computer or without? You're vastly smarter, actually, Musk said. You can answer any question pretty much instantly. You can remember flawlessly. Your phone can remember videos and pictures perfectly. Your phone is already an extension of you. You're already a cyborg. That's not true. Alright? Most people don't realize you're already a cyborg. It's just that the data rate is slow, very slow. It's like a tiny straw of information flow between your biological self and your digital self. We need to make that tiny straw like a giant river. A huge high bandwidth interface. Okay, merging man with machine. Well, hey, this is the devil speaking miracles, alright? Musk, who spoke about Neuralink before he smoked pot on the podcast, said this sort of technology could eventually allow humans to create a snapshot of themselves that can live on if our bodies die. Alright, the devil with his speaking miracles, man. Alright? Making it seem like he's some miracle worker, like he's God himself. If your biological self dies, you can upload into a new unit, literally, Musk said. I mean, this kind of stuff is scary, man. You know? But this is how we know that we're near the end. Alright? This is how we know that we're near the end, man. You know, these devils are actually... Esau is actually crazy enough to get people to take this. And a lot of people are stupid enough that they're going to take this. They don't have a moral compass, man. The Most High is going to put the spirit on a lot of people to take this. Musk said he thinks that this will give humans a better chance against artificial intelligence. You know, and that's what they're going to do with these jobs, man. All these people, they lost their jobs and they're forced to work shit jobs. But once automation starts really taking over, they're going to say, well, hey, AI took over your job. Why don't you just give yourself to this AI and make yourself superhuman, then you get your job back. You know? Devil's speaking miracles, man. Okay? We get the chip scripture. This is the mark of the beast, and this is what we should all be watching out for. Revelation 13 and 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. The image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. Now, are we saying that everybody's going to have to get with this Neuralink thing? No, there's going to be other forms of the mark of the beast, man. But it's all going to be centered around receiving microchips. Okay, one company might have Neuralink. Another company might have their own version of this same thing. You know, that they call it something different. There might be another company or corporation that specializes in chips that are placed in your hand. You know, so on and so forth. Okay, but the whole point is that they're going to try and push this on everybody. To receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And that no man might buy or sell. Okay? And we see this move towards a paperless economy. Economy without a paper trail, man. You know? That's ultimately what this is going to be tied into. That's what's really going to get people to line up, man. Because if you can't participate in commerce, it's going to be tough, man. But the Most High is gonna feed His elect, okay? So we won't have to worry about buying or selling. You know, we'll find a way to feed His elect. Save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding, because not everybody has understanding, man. There's a lot of false prophets that aren't warning you of this. Count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Okay? And this is a form of the mark of the beast, okay? This Neuralink thing. You see how Esau's slowly but surely pushing everything in this direction? And this is the hour of temptation. Revelation 3 and 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience. Okay? Meaning that what? We've been patient in this faith. We put our trust in His word. I also will keep thee from. We're going to get into a couple words here. Keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. I'm going to open a few of these tabs. Alright? Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep, meaning what? Terio. Keep, meaning what? To attend to carefully, to take care of, to guard, to keep one in the state in which he is, alright? How would that translate to the chip, man? Because that's what this mark of the beast is. It's a large part of this hour of temptation. Meaning what? Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is going to keep you in the state of not receiving that chip. Okay? He's going to take care of you. He's going to put the spirit on you to resist it, to observe, to reserve, to undergo something. He's going to keep you away from it. Alright? Keep thee from the hour of temptation. Parasmos for temptation. Experiment. Experiment to what? To see if you'll endure unto the end. Alright? Let's get that. Matthew 24:13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Okay, endure what? This temptation, man. Because there's going to be a lot of things going on during this time. Right? There's going to be a lot of things going on during this time, man. It's not just Esau's just going to say, oh, here, take this chip. No, society's going to be broken down at that time. There's going to be martial law, riots in the streets, all kinds of different things going on. Okay? So you have to endure unto the end. And this is that final big test. So you have to get past this attempt, trial, and proving. This temptation, this hour of temptation, is a proving ground. Alright? Trial, proving. The trial made... Oh no, that's not it. A trial of man's fidelity and integrity. Alright? Because everything that we've done so far in this ministry doesn't mean anything if we don't have the integrity to get past this test. You know? I mean, that's pretty much it on that. You brothers can look these other definitions up, but, you know, the understanding is there. Hour of temptation, man. This word is parazo, and it means, that's the word, which will come from the word to try. That's what it means, to try. Try them that dwell upon the earth. What does it mean to try them? Okay? To try means what? To try or test one's faith. Okay? It's a test. Virtue and character by enticement to sin. Of the temptations of the devil, the hour of temptation. Who's going to be tempting us with this? The devil, Esau. Okay? Yahushua said, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Okay? Of Yahweh. To inflict evils upon one in order to prove his character and his steadfastness of his faith. It's the final test, man. This is the final test, the mark of the beast, which is the hour of temptation. A large part of the hour of temptation. Okay, the hour, everything that goes on during the hour of temptation, the martial law and all that, is going to be used, okay, to get us to take this mark of the beast. Everything is going to be centered. The whole reason why Esau is going to do martial law is to get you to take that chip. Oh, you don't want to take the chip? Well, you don't get no food rations at the FEMA camps. Oh, you don't want to take that chip? Get that guillotine. Get that guillotine. And these guillotines are designed for us. You can research it. FEMA's been ordering guillotines. Alright? Revelation 20:4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, and for the word of Yahweh, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads. Okay? Meaning that, well, we're going to totally resist this devil. The scriptures say, resist the devil, and he shall flee from you. But in this test, he might try and kill you. You might have to be a martyr, man. You have to put, you younger brothers, man, you have to pray and meditate. And you need to make the decision whether you are willing to die for this thing. Because you may have to make that choice. That's why you got to hate your life, you know. Or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Yahushua 1,000 years. And the whole point is that they were beheaded. Some brothers are going to have to be beheaded, man. Some brothers are going to have to be martyrs. That's the harsh reality of it. Okay? And they're coming for us, man. They want us first and foremost, okay? They know, Esau knows that all these little peons out here are going to willingly take this chip. They're really going for those that have the faith, man. That's really the ones that they want. But, I was going to get a couple more scriptures, but I believe I proved the point. May do a follow-up. Till next time, Shalom. Don't take the chip.
And this is another interview with a musician that I like, which I believe he's a confusion of face, and we know that there's a lot of confusion of face musicians out there. Of course, I'm talking about Roger Waters of the Pink Floyd, and just the fact that the way that he's outspoken against these wars and against everything else kind of shows me that I think that he's a Jake, and if you look at his facial structure, he even looks a bit like Gad. But either way, though, I know that he's most likely a confusion of face, but either way, though, he's going to give a breakdown on who the White Helmets are. The White Helmets tried to recruit Roger Waters not too long ago, and he exposed that in a Barcelona concert. And if you hadn't seen the Roger Waters footage, man, he's really exposing Trump. He did a free show in Mexico City and put up Donald Trump as a pendejo and all kinds of anti-Trump things, and it was really neat, because he's taken that classic song "Pigs" and he's putting Donald J. Trump on the pig, and pigs means the warmongers, which are the Edomites. So either way, though, I think that there's a lot of prophecy within the music industry as well. So he's prophesying against Mount Seir too. Anyways, check out this interview here.
Well, welcome to Sophie & Co. I'm Sophie Shevardnadze. 40 years on, the groundbreaking music of Pink Floyd still sounds fresh, and the lyrics of Roger Waters are as relevant as ever. How hard is the balancing act between music and politics? Well, I'm here in St. Petersburg to ask the legend himself, Roger Waters, musician, author, activist, co-founder of Pink Floyd, and my guest today. It's really great to have you with us today. Welcome to Russia.
Thank you.
Everyone's really happy that you're here, looking forward for your tour, and I'm looking forward for a little chat. So I'm going to start from the eternal question, because you've been pushing the boundaries of music forever. At the same time, the lyrics that you write are always very powerful. So the big question is, what is more powerful, the word or the music?
Well, the way that I work, they have equal importance. I mean, the trick with songs, and I'm never quite sure where it comes from, but it's to do with the way the feelings that are in the lyric of the songs and the ideas that are in the lyrics of the songs somehow get kicked into a more accessible place by having to relate to the meter of the music. I don't know, it's a kind of magical thing. I feel a bit like I'm kind of pulling the wings off a butterfly even to talk about it, because it's sort of mysterious. Writing song, it's a sort of a mystery, how it happens or why it happens, where the connections are made between the heart and the soul and the brain and the intellect and the nature of if one is intellectually inquisitive about the world that one lives in and so on and so forth. It's just a way of, I don't know, being alive.
You get this question a lot in different forms, but I never really quite grasped an answer. For instance, if you go to a Paul McCartney concert, who's a great musician and a friend of yours from what I gather, you forget about Syria and sanctions for one night. And you have that little space of 3 hours to think about love or heartbreak or, I don't know, family, friendship. You would never be okay with giving your audience or people just that. What is it about? Does music always have to be fused with a certain message, or else it makes less sense and it's not as important?
No, there's no has to or doesn't have to or anything. My father was dead, so I never really knew him at all. But my mother gave me a great gift when I was a child, and that was, she said that the only thing that was fundamentally important to her was to care for other human beings, to empathize with others. So, for instance, she was a school teacher. She had my brother and I to bring up on her own, and she was very political. So if she would go to a political meeting, often in the evening, she'd drag us along with her, and we'd sit there, and the British China Friendship Association or something, I'm saying this is specific, and we would watch grainy movies about the heroic struggle of the China, of Mao and the Long March and the Chinese peoples fighting against the Japanese and the puppet government and blah. But often the meetings in Cambridge, where I brought up, would be in the Friends Meeting House, which is the home of the Quakers, who are a religious sect. I'll never forget, my mum said to me one day when we were leaving, she said, "You know where we are?" And I said, yeah. Well, I didn't really. It's called the Friends Meeting House, right? It's the Quakers. It's a Christian sect. And she said, "As you know, I'm an atheist, so I cannot subscribe to their religious beliefs, but they are very, very good people." And I thought, wow, how cool is that? Now I can hear her saying it now.
So I guess you're very much like your mother, from what you described right now.
I have her hands.
And you're very outspoken, and you always say what you think, and you're very adamant to get your message through, and you've been political throughout all your life, from day one of your career. But people now are saying, maybe Waters should just stick to music. They never really said it before, and I wonder why it has become so pervasive now. Has your message changed? Has it become more acute? Why are they all of a sudden realizing that Roger Waters, along with great music, is
because they're sleepwalking, because they're asleep, because they are the victims of the neoliberalism that Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher brought to the world, and that has spread all pervasively, certainly through Western culture and Western politics and things. And part of the way that it works is to anesthetize people and almost to make it uncomfortable for people to hear anything real. This is so it's difficult for some people. And I get people. I mean, in America, we would get people walking out of the shows, not many, maybe 4 or 5 out of 20,000, but nevertheless, if you, why doesn't he just shut up and play the music, And I sometimes speak to them, because I speak to the audience most places that I play now, and sometimes I'm a bit playful.
How ready are they to hear that? Because most of them are there just to trip and breathe, for instance, right? And then you're speaking to them, you're really trying to get them out of their comfort zone.
Unfortunately, we don't educate ourselves or our children well enough. And the reason we don't do that is, in America, I live in the United States of America. In the United States of America, they spend nothing on public education. And the reason is, in my view, I'm always ready to be wrong about everything. They want to keep the electorate ignorant and mindless and unthinking and malleable and pliable and very open to the use of consumerism and propaganda to keep them under control, to maintain, the Orwellian notion of the sheep and the whatever and whatever. So
actually,
that's why.
I'm going to get to the Western mainstream because I really want to hear your views on that. But a little bit about you before we get to the bigger things. When the Iraq war was taking place, you said that your songs from The Wall were as relevant as ever, and now you're on tour. The tour is called Us Plus Them. That's a song from the dark side, and obviously you feel like it's relevant today. But what hasn't really changed in the last 40 years? I mean, no iPhone 135,000 will ever change the fact from what we see that people were killing each other for religion or oil or gas or money, or they're still continuing to doing today as if they were doing 2,000 years ago. Does it discourage you, demoralize you? What keeps you driving? Because you've been out there for 40 years and all your songs were relevant then and relevant now, but things don't really change.
Well, that's true. But we have to remember that 40 years is is sort of irrelevant in terms of the history of Homo sapiens, and also in terms of thought and in terms of the way things develop and the potential that we have to change systems. First of all, you really have to go back to say, well, I'm glad that I was born after the Enlightenment, if you like. I'm glad the French Revolution happened a couple of 100 years ago, so that we can have the Déclaration des Droits de l'Homme is in our back pocket if we want it. I agree with that. That is a good thing. This is something that I can cling to. And then that puts us then somewhere different than the people who would suggest that I shouldn't be political at rock and roll shows. What are you talking about? What shouldn't be? It's none of your business. And you can not come or you can come, but you can't influence me with an opinion about something like, it's not your music, it's my music. It's not your job, it's my job. It's my life. This is what I do, and it's what I've always done. If you thought you were a fan of Pink Floyd and you didn't notice that that's what I did when I was running Pink Floyd, you're an idiot, But I don't want to hear. Life is too short for me to listen to idiots. I'm not interested in their opinions. I'm interested in the opinions of people who are thoughtful or caring or something, or have something about them that there are certain people that you meet and you talk to, and it's like reading a great book.
Let's talk about you and what you believe in, and what you're very outspoken about. You're an avid supporter of the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement. You urge colleagues to follow suit. Latest example, Lana Del Rey. There is no question that when you say things, you believe in them, and you take full responsibility for it. But how fair is it to actually, shame some of your colleagues into not going to Israel, or pressure them to think like you if they don't? Because you are your own person, and you're completely entitled to thinking that. But
my alternative is to say nothing. I can't say no. When civil society in Palestine has reached out to the rest of global civil society, which it did in 2004, and specifically the PACBL, right, the cultural boycott thing, they specifically reached out to artists and cultural figures and academics in the rest of the world and said, we are dying. We're dying here. We're dying. Please help us. Please do not go to Israel and perform. If they offer you an academic accolade or award, please refuse it. This is the only way we can think of now after the two intifadas.
How does that make Israel's government change their mind?
Well, look what they're doing now. They're trying now to make BDS illegal in the United States and in France and in Germany, and to some extent that because BDS has shone the light on what they are actually doing, but they don't seem to be learning anything from it at the moment. But they are swaying public opinion all over the world now by killing those 150 kids in the Great March, the return home, the protests near the fence that's around the prison. People are appalled by that because it's almost impossible not to be. If you see it, you have to see it. BDS helps people see it. I help people see it. I pass on as much of it as I can, always, because it's so important to me.
Still, there's another side to the story, and that's just regular Israelis. Some of them still come to your show. They haven't even voted for Netanyahu. They're not for settlements. How fair is it to punish them?
People tell me that, unfortunately still, it's a huge majority of Israeli Jews believe that the policies in relation to Gaza and in relation to the settlements and in relation to building permits and are fine. They don't see a problem with it. This is a big majority of Israelis. Maybe not Israeli Arabs, but they're only 20% of the population. So that 80% of the 80%, there is a resistance, and I know many of them. They're friends of mine, you know, but it's not huge numbers.
We're going to take a short break right now, and when we're back, we'll continue talking to Roger Waters, a legendary musician, activist, co-founder of Pink Floyd. Stay with us. And we're back with Roger Waters. Roger, your strong opinions about other things. I know that the White Helmets, at some point they asked you for your help and you're like, no, because you're a weird organization.
But no, hang on, the White Helmets approached me twice. Once was for a fundraiser in London, organised by the Syria campaign. Okay, and I looked in it and I thought, there's something, who are these people? And so I did quite a fair bit of research.
What is it that you see in that organization that the Western mainstream doesn't?
Well, hang on a minute. Oh, what? The White Helmet?
What is it? Yeah.
Well, for instance...
Because they're obviously idolized in the West.
For instance, well, okay. I'll tell you, just a couple of things. We could be here all day talking about the White Helmets because it's a very deep rabbit hole. For a start, there is no evidence to support the idea that it's a grassroots organisation in rebel-held territories in Syria that grew up from people who just wanted to go and help civilians get out of bomb buildings. No evidence to support that. So that's one thing. When I made my speech, I gave a little speech in Barcelona because the other thing is a French guy who supports the White Helmets, he goes around the world climbing tall buildings wearing a white helmet. And he said, I want to come on stage and give a message to the children of Syria. We haven't forgotten you. Can I come? And I went, no, you can't come on stage and say that. I mean, I'm sure he's sincere and whatever. But I explained why. This happened, my gig was on April the 14th this year. This year in Barcelona. On April the 7th, it is alleged there was a chemical attack in Douma in Syria, and a video appeared with people hosing down children, kids with masks on their faces and blah, 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 and all of that, made by White Helmets. And the White Helmets sent this video and it went viral, blah, blah, blah. On the evidence of that video, the governments of the United States of America, the UK and the Republic of France all decided to go and bomb Syria. And just on the basis of that, I stood up on stage and said, I think I have I think it would be huge error to go and bomb airfields in Syria until we know what happened. The United States and the UK and France did send 100 cruise missiles into Syria. I don't think they did much damage. Thank goodness they didn't kill people. But they did do that, and they did. And then the people left. And the next day, 2 journalists went in. Robert Fisk, who worked for The Independent, which a perfectly reputable English news broadsheet. Well, it's tabloid, actually, but... And also a strange journalist. He was working for a conservative Christian TV station from Texas, and his name was Pearson Sharp. And they both extensively went all over Douma. They both went to the hospital where the video had been shot, and everybody told them the same story. Absolutely nobody knew anything about any chemical attack. The doctors said there was no chemical attack. We had a few people in who'd got dust in their throats. There was not a single death in Douma that day. Nobody was killed. Certainly nobody was affected by chemicals of any kind. And so there's these two independent journalists in there and sending out these reports that were unequivocal, and I believe them to be true. Funnily enough, the official, chemical weapons inspectors went in 4 or 5 weeks later with all their stuff, and their report came out, and they said they couldn't find a single trace of any nerve agent. They found chlorinated something, I can't remember how it was phrased, which could be a bag of salt, could be anything, but so they did not, the official report is now out. Nobody read it. It wasn't news. You couldn't see it on CNN because it's not the narrative that they follow. Their narrative is that there was a chemical attack and the white helmets are wonderful. I just have to say this one more thing, because I said this in Oslo, and I will say it whenever this comes up. If there is a grassroots body called the White Helmets of volunteers, separate for the people who actually it started in Istanbul. It didn't start in Syria. It was started by an English soldier in Istanbul. But if that body exists, and they go and help people after, either Assad or the Russians or somebody else has dropped bombs on them, then I support them wholeheartedly with every fibre of my being. But all the evidence points to the fact that that is not the reality. I don't know if did you see the documentary that won the Oscar?
Yes, I have.
I mean, have you ever seen anything so obviously scripted and carefully shot and put together? Did that look like a documentary that come out of a war-torn
That's another thing I want to talk to you about. You're saying carefully scripted. You used, it is not their narrative. That's why the report from the inspectors is not making the mainstream media in the United States.
Yeah.
When you say, I'm critical of U.S. airstrikes or Syria, or you say, I believe, after looking into it, that the White Helmets are a shady organization, from what I've gathered, or like Skripal case is, strange, then they say right away that you're a Putin sympathizer, that you're aligned with the Russian authorities.
Of course they do.
I'm sure if you weren't who you are, they would just say you're outright nuts.
You think I won't be attacked for being on RT?
But why is it someone, I don't even know if you like Putin or not, but why is it that someone that doesn't express an opinion that's in line with the State Department is scarlet lettered, branded like a Russian spy or like a Kremlin sympathizer, as if you can't think for yourself?
Well, I mean, clearly the warmongers are doing it because they want to promote the idea of having war with Iran first and maybe Russia second. There's a lot of money in war. And I know this sounds like crazy conspiracy theory stuff, but it's not. Why are they spending $600 billion a year going into foreign countries that are none of their business and killing brown people and Muslims? Why? What's it for? If you start asking those people, why? Why are you doing this? Is it because you're scared because they're going to attack you because they hate your freedom? I mean, the narrative is nonsensical in every possible way. The US narrative. Yeah, and they'll probably throw me out eventually of the country.
You think so?
I've no idea.
Do you feel that danger? Or
I feel that people are trying to silence me. I mean, obviously on the BDS issue, they've been trying to silence me. They threaten me as well.
Where would you go?
Well,
back to Britain?
Oh, what you mean if I didn't live in the United States?
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I wouldn't go back to the UK, I don't think.
Would you come to Russia?
Maybe Portugal.
Why not Russia?
Well, why Russia?
Because it's a great country.
Well, maybe you're right. I've no idea.
Can I ask you another thing? Have you noticed the general line and the leeway also that the American officials allow themselves to have when it comes to speaking about the Russians? I mean, I've just heard this American politician say Russians are genetically driven to co-opt and penetrate. That's a quote. And I was thinking, oh my God, if any of the Americans special officials were caught saying that about Jews or the African Americans, that would be like the end of their career.
Yeah.
Why is it okay and why is it allowed to speak about Russians like that to people?
Well, because the mainstream media in the United States of America have been selling this narrative to the general public for the last, 4 years. I think it goes back. How long do you think it goes back? I would say about 4 years.
I think it started during Obama period. It became really bad during the presidential campaign, and it's gotten even worse ever since Trump is in office.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, when I was making this record I just made, Is This the Life We Really Want? The guy who was producing this record with me, started telling me about how RT was just pure propaganda, nothing but a pack of lies. Well, I watch RT. So I've said you can't see a documentary about fracking on American television because they're not interested in telling you anything about anything. You know, it's so obvious now that CNN and all of them, they're all the same. MSNBC or to Fox and everything in between. Maybe not Discovery, no. Maybe that's the one little piece of TV in the United States where you can occasionally get a glimpse of the reality of what it's like to be human. But the rest of it is just propaganda. I still don't know, though, why it is the whole Russia thing. I've said this to audiences as well. I say to this sometimes in, other countries, well, in America, I said, have you any idea who the Russians are? Have you ever met a Russian person? I said, because I've met many Russians, and I'm not saying I know many Russians very well, but I do know this. The Russian people gave up 20 million lives in the Second World War to save you from the Nazis. And you want to go around with a stick and poke at them? Are you insane? You have no idea what you're talking about. And also, you know nothing about the country or the people or whatever. It's just finger pointing.
Why won't you run for office?
Because I have important things to do in my life.
Well, okay. Along those important things, thanks a lot for talking to us, and stay tuned on RT, okay? Because I like you watching us.
I will.
Okay. Good luck with everything.
Hey, thank you so much.
And this area here is what I like to call the Great Millstone Classics, in the essence that this is the main camp when we were over on 34th and Broadway, you know, and we were teaching, you know, Apostle Tahar, and the apostles had started this camp, and then the camp had grown so much that, you know, there's like 3 now in New York, and then LA has at least 3 or 4 camps within camps, and they're all around each other. So we're compassing the cities, you know, especially these bigger ones. So, you know, this word is going out through the unicorn, and this is just one of those classic ones, you know, where Esau gets cut. So female devil, Edomite, comes up upon the camp and gets cut by the word, and you know, these are the things, you know, because I started watching these videos back in 2015 and would eventually come to the fact that I was an Israelite. Took me a little while to figure it out, but it's like, yeah, then, you know, and I just kept on feeling it. I kept on being drawn in, watching these videos, and eventually I started prophesying on the streets, you know, finally had gotten a better place to live, and was able to finally go out there and teach, you know, that there was no more excuses. It was my turn to go out there and teach. So, anyhow, I'm just going to let the video play. Shalom, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakakadash, Brakata.
They which are, let me read that again. That is they which are the children of the flesh. These are not the children of the Most High.
Yeah, which is the other children that came from Abraham. They're the children of the flesh. Isaac was a child of the promise, man. Go ahead.
But the children of the promise are counted for the seed. For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son.
I got something to back that up. Genesis 21 and 20. 21 and 1. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which the Most High had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as the Most High had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him.
So even though Ishmael was the firstborn, all right, by birthright, right? He's the firstborn, but guess what? The Most High excluded him, and he was given to Isaac, right? Because in the spirit, Isaac's really the firstborn, just like in the spirit, Jacob is really the firstborn, man. What?
Now look at going to Matthew 1:1, lineage. It says Matthew 1:1, the book of the generation of Yahushua, or it says Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begat Isaac.
And why is it written like that? The son of David, the son of Abraham. Why didn't it mention Jacob first? Because he was Solomon and he was Isaac, man.
Right? Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Judas and his brother.
Which Judas is, how you say it, is Judah. Go ahead. You got something?
Yeah, I was reading into Galatians real quick. It says, for as many, matter of fact, go up. So then they which be of faith are blessed with faithful Abraham.
And they that be of faith is the Israelites, man. They ain't talking about his other children, man. The household of faith is talking about the Israelites.
And it goes into it, says, for as many as are of the works of the law are under the curse, because what, the children of Israel are under the law, and that law became a curse unto them
when they broke it, because the other nations are not under the curses.
Exactly.
But in the kingdom they're going to be under the curses.
It says, for it is written, cursed is every one that continueth not in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them. Which were going back to the children of Israel. Because what, they were cursed. Because why? Because they couldn't follow all them laws on the stones, man. That's why the new covenant had to be made. Starting with Yahushua, man.
It was through his blood that the scripture say you cannot have redemption without bloodshed. So it was through his bloodshed that New Testament was established. All right, because in the ancient world, it took the blood of the lamb, sprinkled it over the book, and sprinkled it over the people, and that was for the testimony of the Old Testament. Right? But now through Yahushua, he became the New Testament. Through his blood, it was sanctified.
It says, but that no man is justified by the law in the sight of the Most High.
So now you're justified by the faith in Yahushua, not by the law.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Drop it down. It says, Hamashiach hath redeemed us from the curse of the law.
That's why the scripture say we are bought with a price. Right? How were we redeemed? The word redeemed means to buy back. How were we brought back? Through his bloodshed, man.
It says, being made a curse for us, for it is written, cursed is everyone that hangeth on the tree. So Yahushua was, like I said, we was redeemed. And so how did Yahushua bring us back? He became that curse for us, man. Right. Who the word, and he calls Jesus Christ, he became the curse for the Israelites. That's when we go back to John 4:22. You got that heathen, that Samaritan woman, talking about our father, our father, our father, going back to Abraham. Okay? He said, woman, he said in this mountain, your father's in this mountain, in other time, you're not gonna worship in this place, man. Yeah. He said you worship, but you do not what? We know what we worship, which is the Israelites, for the salvations of the Jews, man.
Right. That the hour coming from the true worshippers.
The true worshippers.
Us brothers, some of the apostles.
Yeah. The Israelites. She wasn't there.
Let me get that. Good. Because this guy's talking about, you know, and you got a lot of Christians, man, heathen Christians, talk about salvation and that the covenants belong to all of us, man. Okay, but the covenants only belong to one people, man, and that's the Israelites, man. Okay, the covenant, we was the one that broke the law. We was the one that went off.
We're the only one that entered into the, get that Psalm 50 and 3. Gather my saints together. We're the only ones that enter into, go ahead.
Psalms 50 and 5. Gather my saints together unto me, those that had made a covenant with me by sacrifice.
The word covenant means an agreement. So the nation of Israel is the only one that entered into the agreement with the Heavenly Father, man. So these other nations, that's why the Most High don't jack them up for eating shrimp, crab, lobsters. They've been doing that for all their generations because it wasn't given to them. The law was not given to them, man, but the law was given to us. And when the law was given, we entered into that agreement with Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And upon breaking that agreement, there was a penalty, man. And we're living the penalty for breaking that agreement.
This is Exodus 24 and 3. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord hath said we will do. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord.
So that's them, our people, agreeing to the terms of the contract. So everything that you just said, we're going to do. So that right there, they enter into a verbal agreement, all right, to do the wills of Yahweh Shem Yahushua.
And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord and rose up early in the morning and builded an altar under the hill.
And when you go into the same book, Exodus, is Exodus? Mm-hmm. When you go, when the Lord told them, look, in the morning time, I'm going to give you bread. In the evening, you're gonna have the quails. Yeah. But it says on the 6th day, you're going to gather for 2 days. All right? Because on the 7th day, it's going to be a rest. Don't you know on the 7th day, you had Israelites going looking for shit? And he said, how long are y'all not going to keep my commandments, man? After he done told them, he said, look, I gave you enough for 2 days. And on the 7th day, you still had Israelites going looking. He said, what are you doing? Then the Lord went to Moses and said, look, how long would it cease for y'all to keep my word, my commandments, man? So even from then, it was already breaking it. So you already know down the line, it was inevitable for us not to break the law, statutes, commandments. A backsliding is it, basically. So that already proves that it was already going to be known that we was going to go off, man. Because even then, after seeing all the things of Egypt, man, all the miracles and all the plagues of Egypt, they see what the Lord did to Pharaoh. These niggas are still talking shit. They was thirsty. Oh, Moses, you brought us here to die? And because of them, they made Moses slip with his tongue, man. Yeah. The scripture says a man slip with his tongue, but not with his heart. When he went the second time and he brought the water out, and Moses said, look, how long shall I do this for you people, man? And that was it. Most I heard that. He said, because you didn't sanctify me in the eyes of the people, that's land that I'm taking you to. You can't go into it, man. But he ain't doing it like maliciously, but because he's frustrated because he's damn people, man. Every other thing, oh, we should just stayed in Egypt. You seen the chariots, you seen the death of the firstborn, you seen the different plagues, all right, the lice, the frogs, the darkness, the locusts, all right, the river being turned to blood. And it wasn't just a river, everything that had, every basin that had water in it turned to blood. All right, the pool, everything. So they seen all that. They still was talking, man. That's why the Lord said, I gave you not fire for your blasphemy, man. Every other, it seems like every 4 steps they traveled, they had something to say. Oh, we're thirsty, Moses. Oh, Moses, we hungry, Moses. So Moses, he got frustrated with these people, man.
Go ahead. You know what that, brother? It's a little more. Verse 7. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord has said will we do and be obedient.
So right there, they entered into that agreement. Out of their own mouth, a verbal contract. You look up a verbal contract, all right? You look up what it means. You have the two parties have to understand what the agreement is about. So the Most High gave it, and the children of Israel heard it, and they agreed to it, man.
And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words.
The blood of the covenant which the Lord had gave you concerning all these words. So Yahushua, he revitalized it, man. He became the blood of that covenant. So now it wasn't physically sprinkled on the people, but spiritually, man. That's why I said through his blood we're saved, man. So he became that the blood of the New Testament.
Yeah. This is Amos 3:1. Hear this word that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore will I...
Does that mean the Most High doesn't know there's other people on the planet? Basically saying you the only people that I acknowledge. Out of all the people on the planet, you the only people that I acknowledge, man. I don't give a damn about these other nations. Although he set them up in positions of power. But he said, look, my affection is towards you people, man. Go ahead.
It says, therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities.
That's why the Most High dealt so hard. When you look at slavery, that was a harsh thing you went through, man. And I was watching a little documentary, not a documentary, lecture, and it said in the islands, they said, man, they said your life expectancy was fucking days, man. Weeks. You be dead, because that's why they had to bring so much slaves over here, because you be dead within a couple of days. They was just dying at rapid numbers, man, because they ran you into the fucking ground. Yeah. Even here, when they found the burial ground of slaves over here in New York by Wall Street, and it said the man's arm was attached, the muscle was attached from the bone from sheer exhaustion, man. It wasn't that he was cut or he was bruised, it's just that he basically worked himself to death, man, to the point that his muscles, because right, you got your cartilage, your muscles that's attached to your bone. They said that shit was detached from working that damn hard, man. They used to work you literally to death, man. And there was a Jake woman bringing that out. He said she was basically going to that in order for Esau to justify the wickedness that he was doing, he had to make us less than people, man. All right? So they said, well, these people, they don't need sleep. So by putting that in their mind, we could work them from the time the sun come up to the sun come down.
They use their so-called science to do it.
Exactly.
That's when they started showing us next to pictures of apes and said, see, they both have short hair. The size of their brains is about the same capacity and weight. All right? They,
really?
You know, the mouth, jaw, the nose. So they would try to symbolize that put into the people's heads, it was all manipulation.
That's right.
To make them feel as if we was beasts anyway.
To make themselves feel comfortable with what they was doing.
Exactly.
Because they knew that they knew what they was doing to us, but in order to not have a guilty conscience, they had to put us in the form of less than an animal.
They had to normalize.
All right.
Yeah. What they call a natural selection or something like that?
No, the term related was cognitive dissonance. You see what you're doing is wrong, but in order to justify it within yourself, you have to create something to make it normal. Like niggas do in the hood. Niggas know selling drugs is wrong, but now they got to create a scenario in their head why they got to do it. And that's what they was doing. Oh, these people are primitive. These people don't need sleep.
Yeah.
Don't you know when it came to raping the black woman, it wasn't considered rape?
She got a question.
Go ahead, what's up?
Am I Jewish to you?
You're not an Israelite. You can call yourself Jewish, but you're not.
You're right. I'm not an Israelite.
All right, we're the true Israelites. When you go into the Bible, the people that was enslaved in Egypt wasn't your people.
I would agree with that.
Who were those people?
Typical color.
Exactly. The so-called Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, so-called Mexicans, the 12 tribes, which are the people that's being oppressed in this society, were the ones that was enslaved in Egypt. So these people are the true people of God. See, you people are only Jewish through conversion. Y'all converted into Judaism. Y'all took our ways of living and y'all turned it into a religion.
Am I allowed to be an ally?
Well, if you read the Bible, you're the devil. It's plain and simple.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'm the devil.
Yeah, you're the devil.
Yeah, fuck me, white devil.
I don't know about that. You got that on camera. I didn't say that, she said that. I don't know if that was a... Go ahead.
It's Revelation 2 verse 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty,
but thou art rich. Right.
Well, you're talking about me. Thank God.
Yeah, you're the devil. And she's the devil. See? He's the devil.
Apparently.
You're both devils.
Don't you agree you're the devil?
What? Oh, because I'm Jewish and no, it's because I'm white.
You're an Edomite. You're an Edomite.
If I'm Jewish, what am I?
Devil just means
I'm
deceiver.
I'm the devil too.
Who are the real Jews? Who are the real Jews according to the Bible? What color was Jesus?
Can you prove it?
What color was Jesus? What color was Jesus?
Gotta go.
Really?
So who's this image of the white man that you made people to worship?
Why does that matter to me?
It doesn't matter because it's the truth. He was a Jew.
Am I debating that?
No. He just asked you a question.
I agree. Excuse me, guys. Thank you. Was Billy?
Say that a little louder for these people.
No, he's a direction.
I'm just saying, Jesus was a person of color. I don't claim Jesus was white. I never thought Jesus was white. I think that he was made.
Listen, what we're saying is,
You don't believe in God, do you, right?
What?
You believe in God? No, you can put it on her.
She an outcast. Her family outcasted her, man.
Do you? Do you believe?
Do you believe in God?
I believe in.
Yes or no? Do you believe in God? Yes or no? Do you? Are you an antagonist? No, antagonist.
Agnostic.
Agnostic? Are you agnostic?
Am I an antagonist?
No.
Agnostic or atheist.
Agnostic or atheist?
No, I'm Jewish.
So do you believe in God? Do you believe in God?
Believe in God?
Yes or no?
Creator.
I believe that God plays a contentious position in my life.
That's not what I asked you. Do you believe that there's a creator? Do you believe there's a higher power that created everything?
I gave you my answer.
No, you didn't give me a
But
straight
you
answer.
just don't like
Answer
it.
yes or no question.
That's
You just
proof.
don't
Yeah,
like
exactly. You're right. The devil cannot answer a yes or no question. Go ahead.
Things are not always so simple.
It's Revelation 2 verse
It's a
9.
simple question.
Everything is simple.
Do you believe in God? Yes or no?
The Israelites.
Do you believe in homosexuality?
Yes.
How could you answer that so easily? But I actually asked you if you believe in God, you can't say yes or no.
That's the devil, man.
You're the devil. You just proved that you're the devil. I asked you if you believe in God. Actually, if you believe in God.
Ask me a question I cannot answer.
Actually,
and therefore, I'm not playing tricks.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not
playing
trying to
tricks.
lie to you. I'm trying to be straightforward.
You're the devil.
You are just not
The
accepting
camera
my
just got you. I asked you if you believe in. No. The camera got on camera. I asked her if she
believe in
believed in
love.
God. She said, da 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 da. Then I asked her if she believed in homosexuality. She said yes without a question. You're the devil. You know what?
Do you believe in hate as well then? You say you believe in love. Do you believe in hate?
When necessary.
I believe that there's a gray spectrum.
That's the devil. See?
So there's a reason. When
See, when
necessary.
you ask the devil a question that's going to reveal themselves, they don't want to answer it, man. They're going to reveal it. The scriptures say that it reveals the true intentions of the heart.
Can you hate? Do you believe you're going into slavery? Do you believe that you're going to go into slavery?
Yeah, if it's her, yeah.
Get that revelation real quick, man.
This is Revelation
13.
13. Yep. This is Revelation 13.
Because since you didn't know, now you're going to find out that you so-called. Of course, absolutely. That's what we had to do. To let you know your future, which is going to be slavery. All right, go ahead.
This is Revelation 13:9. If any man have an ear, let him hear.
You got ears on your head, right? Now listen. Go ahead.
He that leadeth into captivity.
He that leadeth into captivity. That's captivity, is it not?
I do not disagree with
I'm just asking you a question. I'm not saying you disagree.
Slavery
There you go.
is definitely
You said
captivity.
the devil, words on words?
Of course.
I do not disagree.
Brother, that's
He
what
asked
you
you a
do.
question.
That's
It's in captivity. I do
Plain
not.
semantics.
So she won't say yes or no.
She's not
I
trying
just
to.
said it is slavery.
Just say yes or no.
That's how they don't victimize themselves.
Exactly.
That's how they do it.
Plausible deniability.
There you go. Go ahead. Read that.
It says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
So the Bible says he that leads into captivity. The so-called white man led you Negroes into captivity, along with you Latin tribes, right? But the scriptures say he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, man. So the future for you so-called white people is gonna be slavery, all right? And for the ones that look good amongst the heathen nations, the women, they're gonna be our concubines, meaning we're gonna have sex with them day and night at our disposal, man. Go ahead. Because
then we're gonna kill you.
No, that's the truth. The truth. Hold on. The truth. No, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. All right. Don't touch me. I don't want you touching me. All right. I said the ones that look good.
What does that mean?
Yeah, brother. Hey, listen, wait, hold on. She asked. Listen, absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be
the Bible is comforting. The Bible is comforting. I'm not fucking. You bugging.
It's not for eternity. It's for 1,000 years.
Who heard me say that?
It's for 1,000 years, not for eternity. He never said eternity. He said for 1,000 years.
Okay, 1,000 years is a long time.
Sound to you.
But in that process, 1,000 years, you're gonna die and come back.
And
You ain't gonna
stop
live
saying
1,000 years.
Nobody
straight.
said it was gonna fuck you. Calm down.
She gonna come back looking good.
Yeah, but you know, I'm not talking
thank
about
you.
nothing.
Thank you.
I said maybe.
No, because you know your people funded the slave trade, right? You know Jewish people funded
Jewish people, yeah.
Jewish
That's
people funded the slave trade. You know
That's
that,
a
right?
so-called Jews.
Because you know
I
why?
would say that Jews
the-
have had their
That's all the
They
slave ship was
financed
owned by
it.
your
They
people.
financed
Let us
right.
say it. Let us say it. Go ahead. In your own words, what would you say?
The words of the devil.
Jewish
Good.
people have what?
I love this. I get it.
Come on, let it out, yo. Let it
I
out.
bet you do love it, man.
Let it spill out.
She love us.
See, everything that's in dark shall come to light.
Because you
one
know
day.
what? Because the Bible says, get Revelation 18.
Yep.
The Bible says that we gotta do double unto them. Don't you know during slavery, what the so-called white man was doing to the women of these tribes? He not only had the white woman in the middle of the night. If he wanted to go to the slave quarters, he'd just grab a black woman and rape her.
right.
And it wasn't considered rape because she was less than nothing.
So
all right?
I got it.
Is this
Reaping
justice?
what you sow.
I got it.
Yes,
I got it.
Justice.
I got it. I got it. Let me prove it.
Are two wrong actions, if I admit this is wrong, do two wrong actions make everything right?
Nope.
Absolutely.
In mathematics, a negative and negative equals what?
It's more and more suffering.
It means a positive.
More
All
and
right?
more
A
suffering.
Go into
Not for
mathematics.
us.
Go into mathematics. A negative and negative equals what?
More suffering.
More
in the
suffering.
world.
But for
You
who?
see? That's how the thing is.
Wait, who's suffering?
Times the negative is going to bring positive.
That's right.
Or negative plus the negative.
But we
is
do
gonna
what
bring
it
about
says we're
more
doing
negative.
double. All right?
That's duality.
All right? But you saying you don't
more
agree what we're saying.
I didn't say anything. I just make one comment based around one thing that you said. I'm
Right.
not arguing for.
A negative plus a negative is more negative.
All right? But the Bible says we got to do
Depends on the circumstance.
the Bible says we got to do double unto them for what they did to us. They've had us for 500 years. We're gonna have them for 1,000 years.
Slacking your own soul for what you done to you.
I got something. I
Go ahead,
got it.
read it.
This is the 1 Thessalonians 1:6. Seeing it is a righteous thing with God,
Right? Seeing as a righteous thing with God.
to recompense tribulation to them that trouble.
What the word recompense mean? What does the word?
It means get even.
It means pay back.
I
All right?
understand.
Go ahead.
It says, and to you who are troubled. Okay, let me read it again. This is 1 Thessalonians 1:6.
2 Thessalonians.
2 Thessalonians 1:6. Seeing it is a righteous thing with God to recompense tribulation to
So it's a
them.
righteous thing. So what we telling you is ain't wickedness. It says a righteous thing with God to recompense. Go ahead. To pay back.
Tribulation to
Tribulation.
them.
Oh, this is tribulation. All right? The rape, robbery, and murder of our people, the stealing of their land. Thursday, how many people went and celebrate fucking Thanksgiving? All right? A holiday that celebrates our people being butchered and massacred, man. So you people got no fucking remorse, man. You're gonna sit down at a table, all right, and basically celebrate your victory over our people. Whether you did it or not, I'm talking about this society, all right? I'm not talking about.
I'm telling you that.
All right? Go
I
ahead.
agree with you there.
It says to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you.
Who's been troubling us? You turn the news on, an unarmed black man will get shot to death. Who's doing that?
Who sold us?
Who sold us into
Is it
slavery?
white Jews?
All right?
Who bought us?
Y'all all the same people. Y'all all the same people. See, the thing about the thing, you see what the thing? The so-called Jews, you know what the so-called Jews try to do? They try to separate themselves from the nation of Edom.
That's what they're doing.
Yes, y'all still the same nation of people, man.
Exactly.
All right, y'all the same people, but they try to separate themselves like they different nation, man. Go ahead.
It says, and to you who are troubled, rest with us.
Which is talking about the people that's on this side, man. To you that are troubled, rest with us. Come into this truth and rest within this knowledge, man. Go ahead.
When the Lord Yahweh Shai shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels.
That's right. Get Revelation 18. Go ahead.
Colossians 3 verse 25. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done.
Reaping what you sow. He that hath done wrong shall receive punishment for the wrong that he has done, man. And this is all the things that you so-called white people have done, you haven't paid for you.
I agree with that.
Sorry is not good enough, man.
I agree with that.
Sorry is not good enough. All right?
Pay for blood.
Paying back is
Oh, get
by
30.
killing.
Hold on. I got
Numbers 35 and 30.
But wait a minute. How come when somebody commit a crime in this society, the so-called white man is eligible to take them to court
To the fullest extent
to the
of the
fullest
law.
extent, and then
is it
hold on. Shh. Hold on. The so-called white man can take them to court, judge them, penalize them for what they've done, and then lock them in prison, and then for what, 25 to life, 100 to life, 10 life sentences, and then get them the death penalty. But then she don't believe that we got to pay them back according to what you do. But then the so-called white man can judge. Hold on, why is it that when the so-called black man, the Negroes, Latinos, and Americans talk about judgment, it's a problem all of a sudden? Why is it a problem all of a sudden? But when Esau want to judge, it's all right. Listen, man, get out of here.
You know why? Because it applies to them. Exactly. See, it's easy to pass judgment when you can pass on everybody else. But now, it's like when you about to get your ass whooped when you was a kid. You scream and cry. You do everything in your power to avoid that ass whooping, man. But guess what? You still got to get that ass whooping. See, because it applies to them. Now, if we was applying this to the Chinese, to the Arabs, they wouldn't give a damn.
Because they ain't do it.
All right, but it's applied to them. Now they want to backtrack. Who wants to go through that, man? 1,000 years of slavery, getting your head bashed in, getting your children's head bashed in, all right?
You can't run from
having your woman ravaged, being out in the field until you pass out dead, man, picking cotton. That's what's gonna happen to your people, man. Y'all gonna build the kingdom to come. We built this road, right?
We built your kingdom.
We built this fucking planet. I agree.
This is Isaiah 14:21. Prepare slaughter for his children.
Because they like to speak about their forefathers, right? All your forefathers were murderers, man.
See, the thing is,
all your forefathers was murder. Is not George Washington your forefather? Are they not called? No. Oh, get that. Job 34. When it says it's to be against a nation. Go ahead.
This is Job. You want Job 34 and 33? This should be according to the mind.
No. If it be against a man or against a nation.
Clearly, you're very well read.
34 and 24.
34
but I can see that there are justifications also in there.
Read it.
No, that's not it.
For loving thy neighbor.
Somebody look it up.
But you're not our neighbor. Neighbor applied to this.
Be against a man or against a nation. All right? Read what you got.
Okay, this is Isaiah 14:21. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land.
So at least one thing you can honestly say that you learned today, that you're going into slavery.
That's right.
And we're not just saying it just to say it. This is actual facts. And the people of the world don't believe it because they can't fathom in their mind that these pathetic, low-life niggas will ever achieve something great outside of the white man's power. All right? But it's going to happen. That's the beauty of the Most High. It's the beauty of the Most High. The beauty of the so-called white man showing his power, man. The Most High showing his power.
You're defining greatness by the white man because you want retribution in the way that the white man.
This is your world.
The way that the white man persecuted.
This is your world. This is your world. This is your world. Don't you? Isn't it something called white privilege? Don't you enjoy?
Yes, of course there's white privilege.
Do you enjoy the benefits of it?
Of course I do.
All right. So you gonna pay? Because in order for you to get white privilege, a lot of blood had to be shed. Because this land was stolen. This land. All right. So now you're gonna pay. You enjoy the benefits of it. You're gonna pay for the wickedness, man.
Or the way the white people have done for you for centuries.
That's right.
But that's getting even in a white way.
We're gonna get even. No, it's not. It's getting even in a righteous way. In a righteous way. So wait a minute. After all the evil you did to us, we supposed to just let y'all slide right in and just let everything be bygones be bygones.
Now we got
crazy. You think we take y'all to the kingdom? First of all, if we was to take these devils and be at peace with them in the kingdom, what they gonna do? They're gonna bring homosexuality. They're gonna bring in lesbianism. They're gonna bring in bestiality. They're gonna bring in pedophilia. All the wickedness here. We're gonna say no. Don't eat pork. They're gonna be secretly saying, nah, if you cook it right, anything that's wicked,
look like America,
it's gonna be brought. This place is gonna be revitalized in the kingdom of heaven. That's why we have to put you into submission. Beginning with the so-called white man. See, you white women are just a pawn. All right, just like the black woman is just a pawn. You white ones, that's just a side piece, man. We going to the so-called white man.
Can you not in my face?
I'm not in your face. All right?
I know.
All right? But we coming for the so-called white man. We coming for the so-called white man. We coming. All right? Agree? We coming for the so-called white man. We coming for the so-called white man. This beef is between us, right?
You don't want to know what I is.
Go ahead.
This is beneath me, peasant.
What you need to do is go home and enjoy your life. I don't know if you do drugs. Go do drugs. Go party.
Go blow some rock.
Just have fun. No. And all jokes aside, go have fun. Because after this, you'll never be at peace ever again. For 1,000 years, you're gonna live a gruesome, rigorous life, man. Whether you believe it or not, it don't matter. But really, go enjoy yourself, man. Party it up.
We didn't believe that we was going to go into slavery, and then it happened.
But the thing is, I spend my
What you help the poor?
No, I'm passionate, not tearing.
A passionate devil. It's okay.
I'm allowed to be passionate.
About wickedness. You're passionate about fighting for homosexual rights, right?
About righting wrong.
You believe in abortions?
Planned
So do
Parenthood?
you go to the synagogues and tell them about the injustice that they're doing to our people?
Hell
no, sure.
Abortion.
Do you believe in abortion? Do you believe in abortion?
But I do it everywhere.
You believe in
And
that?
I don't do it, I don't speak the words. I say, I'm going to let somebody else speak, but I'm going to stand here.
Do you believe in
Because
abortion?
because I don't have the right to speak for somebody else who is oppressed. I have no right to account for their oppression. But I can at least explain my stance and my voice to let somebody else speak.
All right.
Do you believe in abortion? Do you believe in a woman's right to kill a baby?
I don't know. Listen, I don't know.
Murder, man. Come on.
Listen,
I don't know.
Listen,
You stand for
yes or no? The difference for that. Okay, look.
What's the
listen.
difference?
The difference for that is how you define a life. Is a life a crying, living thing? Listen, you're okay.
Okay, go ahead.
A stem cell lab is on fire, and there's a crying baby in the corner.
Right.
And then there's 10,000 test tubes that are also going to go in the flames. What do you save?
Is it conceived?
Yes.
You save the 10,000.
So do you save the 10,000
But that's not the same.
test
That's
tubes?
wait. First of all.